Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Well, today I bought a 2007 Ford Focus for £1,000. Or as you say in the East End of London, bag of sand. Hold out your hand. Anyway, I haven't seen this car yet, so I thought I'd bring you guys along for a ride out. And how much you all like a bargain. Over the years I bought countless Focuses. Foci? No, Focuses. Anyway, I bought lots of them over the years. And they're decent cars on the whole. They're usually quite reliable, quite cheap to run, not bad to look at, not bad to drive. Personally, I prefer the Mark 1 over the Mark 2, but that's mainly for reasons of nostalgia. I think the Mark 1's slightly better looking, but the Mark 2's roomier, has a bigger boot, and it's just a bit more modern. Each to their own, I guess. As I've mentioned many times before, I get offered these kinds of cars and I have to buy these kinds of cars all the time. Usually I just try and flirt them on within the trade rather than retail them, because more often than not, they're just more hassle than they're worth. But I was doing my books the other day and March was a very poor month for me. In fact, one of the worst months I've ever had. I'm not really sure why. I think there's just lots of uncertainty at the moment. What with inflation, rising costs of living, rising fuel prices, war in Ukraine. There are just loads of negative things going on, so people just aren't changing the cars. When I look back through my sales order forms for March, the only things that seem to have sold were the cheap things. All my dearer, nice cars stuck, but all the £4,000 and under cars all sold. So I thought, maybe I need to move with the times. Maybe I need to stock more older, cheaper cars. That's the thing with business in general. I think you've got to be flexible, be willing to move with the times. So when I was offered this diesel Ford Focus the other day, done 76,000 miles, I thought, perhaps there's some life in this. If I can get this serviced and through MOT for a couple £100, it's got to be worth £2,000 or 2,200 or 2,500 even. So there might be some profit in it. And ultimately, when I'm paying my bills, it doesn't really matter where the profit comes from, as long as the profit's there. And looking back on March, it obviously was not there. So I'm just praying now, I've got my fingers crossed that this £1,000 Ford Focus is okay. Shall we go and have a look? Let's go. Put ourselves out of our misery. Well, we're here. I don't know who has parked it like that. They've parked it right over both bays. Unfortunately, both of those bays are mine, so it's not like it's causing any inconvenience to anybody else, but still. It's quite embarrassing, isn't it, that? It looks like... yeah, it's got style wheels, so I'm going to say it's a style model. Looks quite bright, actually. Quite bright. Before we go any further, let me do a vehicle history check. Now, I always use a company called Car Vertical, who seem to be the most thorough. So all you do is go to carvertical.com, type in the registration number, which in this case is Kilo Hotel 57 November Yankee Sierra, and then get report. This will check whether it's been stolen, been involved in any accidents, any mileage rollbacks. It checks all that kind of stuff. Let's get the report then. While I'm waiting for this to load, it's probably a good time to tell you that I've done a deal with Car Vertical, where you guys will get 10% off each and every single vehicle history check you want to do if you click the link below in the video description and use the promo code HIGHPEAK. Right, my report is now ready. So there's no mileage fraud. That's good. I think it's done about 77, but we'll check that shortly. It's not been stolen, never been involved in any accidents, no outstanding finance. It was manufactured on the 27th of September 2007. The ownership changed in 2009. Oh, that was it. So it's a two-owner car, this. It shows every single MOT as well. It's had a few advices, but they seem to have been cleaned up. The most recent one was September last year. So, right, so that passed with no advisory items. That's a good sign. There might be hope for this one yet. It's never been used as a driving school car, never been used by the police, never been used as a rental car or a taxi or used for delivering goods, and it's not been stolen. It estimates the mileage to be 74, or 76 actually, 76. I think that's a good estimate. No damage. Right, that's good. Let's go and have a look then, shall we? Try and park this within the white lines. Well, we've got two sets of keys, which is a good sign. Supplied by the car people, which I never like to see personally, but... right, the remote locking doesn't seem to work. There we go. Let's have a quick look around the outside first. Well, it looks quite straight. A little bit of rust there. Fords always seem to rust terribly, especially around the wheel arches. It's not too bad though. We've got winter tyres. That is a... never heard of that brand, but it's got about 6mm of tread on. This one is a Winter Sport. Oh, it's a Dunlop. Right, I have heard of them. More rust there on the wheel arch, and more rust down there. Not too bad though, I've seen worse. It's got the colour-coded bits on it there. Looks quite bright actually. Headlamps aren't all cloudy. They're not alloys, are they? They're trims. They're trims that look like alloys. We've got a Pirelli there with about 6mm of tread on. A little bit more scabbiness there on the wheel arch. The sill's not all dented. Panels look the same colour. More rust, but not too bad. And a Genesis on the back. A Genesis with about, that's probably the worst tyre of the bunch actually, and that's got about 5mm, 4 or 5mm. It's not too bad. Bodywork's quite tidy. Yeah, it was a Style TDCi. So a quick look under the hood. We've got a missing engine cover, which I never like to see. Coolant looks quite fresh. No obvious leaks though, all looks quite tidy. A little bit of scabbiness around there, but nothing too serious. So far so good. Let's have a look inside then, shall we? So it has done 76,675. Everything looks in quite decent condition, to be honest. There's no wear on any of the buttons or switches. Let's have a look at the service history then, shall we? So, service portfolio. Oh yes, look at this. So it's come from Nottinghamshire. Then sold by the car people in 2009. And then ever since then it's been serviced every year. 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 where it had a timing belt. Look at that. Nobody does that. Only me. 16, 17 I would guess. 18, 19. Is there any more? Okay, 19. What's that one? Oh, 20. Had another one then at 70. What does that say? 74? 71? In 2020. What are we in now? 22. Okay, so it's just service on the time, but not necessarily the miles. Let's fire up then, shall we? You took an Instamatic. Because you're gorgeous. Right, the engine light's on, so it's not been disabled. That's a good sign. Clutch feels okay. I hate diesels. Old clattery old oil burner. Well, it's actually in very good condition. Even that little power outlet cover's not missing. They always go missing. Fan works on 1, 2, 3 and 4. Look at that. 5-speed. Yeah, very clean actually. Very clean indeed. What's that? There's some sort of sticker on the windscreen, which I think is Italian, is it? Avonque Proteggini? Pina... I don't know. It's definitely Italian, that. Definitely Italian. So we've got a Italian-owned, 2-owner Ford Focus diesel style on trims. Shall we take it for a drive and see what it drives like? Right, well we're out in the Ford Focus diesel. Well, it pulls, it's got a clutch, it engages gear properly. I recently did a video about how to buy a car in the UK, a used car. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Now, I'm no expert, but I do this for a living. You don't need to go on a very far test drive to work out whether something's decent or not. You can literally just run it around a car park. So it pulls, I can feel the turbo engaging. There's an annoying little squeak or something coming from the back, but nothing sinister. Radio works obviously, because we just had a little bit of a rendition of You're Gorgeous. Windows work. Should we try the air conditioning? What's the chances of the air conditioning working in a 15-year-old Ford Focus? Give it a minute just to, I was going to say warm up, cool down. Straight away, you know, that feels like it's working. That's unbelievable. The air conditioning works on a 15-year-old Focus. Who's bothered recharging the gas on an old Focus? Nobody ever bothers with that. Which makes me think straight away, if they've bothered to do that, they've obviously bothered to look after it. The only thing that's slightly concerning is the rust. Now it's a little bit scabby around the wheel arches, but if it's scabby there, chances are it's scabby on the chassis as well. So I better go and check that out. I think what I'll do next is take it down to my mechanics, get them to get it up on the ramp, do a pre-MOT, see if it'll pass its MOT, and then from there I'll work out whether or not it's worth taking the risk and retailing this car. Because on the face of it, this is a fairly decent car. It'll do 45 miles per gallon, I would have thought, without even trying. The tax won't be expensive. And if it's had its cam belt done 5 or 6 years ago, you don't need to worry about that for another couple of years. And the air conditioning works as we're approaching summer, so for somebody, for a couple of grand, it's probably quite a decent thing. The steering feels fine, the brakes feel fine, no wheel bearing noises. The tyres are all right, even though they're odd, they're all decent. I think that's what I'll do then. Let me run it down to my mechanic, get them to check over it, and I'll catch up with you in a day or two. Cheers, guys. I've got good news for you for a change. It's passed its MOT. Who'd have thought it? All it needed replacing was a offside front suspension arm because there was excessive movement in the old one, and that's it. The sleeve around the exhaust back box was also rusty, but that wasn't an MOT fail, so I didn't bother getting that done. But apart from that, it's passed. I've also had an oil and filter change done, just to bring that up to date. So the car now owes me around £1,300. So it's got to be worth £22.95 perhaps. I think that's going to be my price. Try and have £1,000 profit out of it. It gives me a little bit of room there for a possible part exchange that I've got to allow on, that kind of thing. So I'll end up hopefully netting around 7 perhaps. Which isn't bad business, is it, considering the low outlay? I've also got the logbook back. Now, because of data protection, I can't tell you the guy's name, but he was definitely Italian, so that sticker there must mean something. Perhaps somebody in the comments section can enlighten me. This all sounds very good for a change, doesn't it? Buy a cheap car and then put £1,000 profit on it. Happy days. The trouble is, or the biggest problem with this job is, judging people's expectations. Because we're all human, we're all different. But some people expect an awful lot. I mean, this is a 15-year-old Ford Focus. Granted, it's only done 76, but it's still a 15-year-old Ford Focus. So I just need to try and attract a normal human being. Somebody perhaps with a, I don't know, a new job that's 30 or 40 miles away, and they want something decent on fuel. I just hope the phone doesn't ring with somebody who's expecting a brand new car, because they'll be bitterly disappointed. I see this all the time. I had it last week, twice actually. Once with a 9-year-old Vauxhall Zafira, which is quite a tidy car to be honest. The guy left a deposit, then came to come and view it, and then didn't buy it because he said the seats were worn, which they weren't any more worn than you'd expect in a 9-year-old car. And then the other time was on a Volvo estate that I've got. Now it's a 2014 Volvo V40 Cross Country, and there are a few little marks on the back bumper, and I'm talking tiny marks, tiny marks. I've touched them in with a similar colour red just to take your eye off, but he didn't buy it because of that. He wanted me to respray the back bumper, which of course I can't do. I can't spend 250 quid getting the rear bumper repainted because of a couple of marks on an 8-year-old estate car. So this is what I'm talking about. People's expectations are all over the place. I just want somebody who's normal and level-headed to call and say, ringing about your Ford Focus, what's it like? Is it alright? Is it clean? Has it been smoked in? Is it okay? Can I get to work in it every morning for the next year or two without it costing me a fortune? The obvious answer is I don't know that, but it's just passed its MOT and we've just had a minor service done, so, you know, fingers crossed. What I don't want to happen, and I promise you this happens all the time, is some posh guy to call. Some posh guy that's very fussy, very fastidious, wants to know the ins and outs. And it'll go a little bit something like this. The phone will ring. Hello, High Peak Autos. Hello there, this is Major Henry Fotheringham Smythe III, making tentative inquiries about your Ford Focus. Is it still available? Yes, it is still available, yes, how can I help? Marvellous. Can I ask, is this service history full Ford or... No, it's not. In fact, it's never actually been to Ford in its life, but it is quite good. It missed one last year, but it's had a cam belt done, the air conditioning works. We've just changed the oil and filter. It's all right. Queer. May I ask, Lady Fotheringham Jones III has a terrible bad back. Is the passenger seat comfortable, or... I don't know, it's a Ford passenger seat. I'm not entirely sure what your point is. And lastly, would you deliver the car? Probably not, no. Why is that? Well, when it turns up on the back of a low loader, you'll be expecting some brand new thing, and it won't live up to your expectations, so then I'll have to pay the £1 a mile to get it all the way back home, so no. Whereabouts are you based? If you're local, I might consider it. I'm calling from the parish of Lower Bobbleton, down on the south coast, about 207 miles from you. No, forget it, absolutely not. Okay then, well, cheerio. Good luck with the sale. Yes, okay, good luck. You might think I'm exaggerating, but honestly, this kind of thing happens all the time. I remember a few years ago, I was selling I think it was about a 10 or 11-year-old Fiat Stilo. Do you remember those? They were quite decent cars, actually. It'd done about 88,000 miles or something. It was very similar to this. It was just a nice, decent, honest car. It had loads of service history. It was just very tidy. So I think I paid about £1,000 for it. Put it on at 1995. Just expecting somebody who wanted a cheap workhorse just to pitch up and buy it. But no. In the end, some guy came up on the train. I think it was like a 3 or 4 hour journey. And he spent 3 or 4 hours looking around the car, inspecting the service history, with his glasses on the end of his nose. Do you know if it's had its air filter changed in 2014? I don't know. It's just a cheap car. I was going to scrap it, to be honest, but it's just got a little bit more life left in it. In 2009, it advised a drop link on the MOT. Do you know if that's... I don't know, pal, honestly. Don't buy it. Yeah, in fact, I think what you need to do is go and buy a brand new car. Anyway, he did buy it at the end, and then complained about loads of things. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. You need to set your expectations to a realistic level. Anyway, I'm rambling now, so I'm going to put this up for sale and see how I get on. So, thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave a link below. For all your car vehicle checks, check out Car Vertical. And don't forget to use the promo code HIGHPEAK for your 10% discount. And yeah, cheers guys. I'll see you next time.